In this video, we will be learning how to convert between mass and moles. This is part of our learning objective for learning how to convert between amounts of substances between moles, particles, and mass. We'll be focusing on moles and mass in this particular video. You will want your periodic table and your calculator handy. I have my calculator pulled up on the screen so that I can show you how to use the calculator. All right, so our conversion factor when we do dimensional analysis between the units of grams and moles, we'll use our molar mass because the units of molar mass were grams per mole. And so this is a great conversion factor between grams and moles. And we know conversion factors can be flipped as needed. And so if I need to, in dimensional analysis, I can put grams in the denominator in order to cancel out grams and end up in moles. And so if I need to cancel out grams and end with moles, my value from the periodic table will just go right there, and then I'll end up with moles. Since it is the units of grams per mole, I can assume that that's per 1 mole because any number divided by 1 is just itself. So when I flip this, the 1 is still attached to the mole. The 1 always goes in front of the mole, and then the number from the periodic table is attached to the grams. So likewise, if I need to go from moles to grams, I can multiply by molar mass to cancel out moles and be left with grams. And the value from the periodic table goes next to the grams. So let's do an example. It says, what would be the mass in grams of 1.25 moles of aluminum sulfate? And so I am given 1.25 moles of Al2SO4 and I'm being asked to find grams of that same substance. And so I can see that the difference here is grams and moles. And so the conversion factor I will need is molar mass, which has units of grams per mole. I am not given the molar mass. That means I'm going to have to calculate it. And so I'm going to do that off on the side margin because it's not part of the main calculation. It's just something I'm going to need for my conversion. And so I'm going to need 2 aluminums. Each aluminum is 26.98 grams per mole. I'm going to need 3 sulfurs. Each sulfur is 32.06 grams per mole. I'm going to need 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to need 12 oxygens at 15.999 grams per mole each. And then add all those up. 2 times 26.98 plus 3 times 32.06 plus 12 times 15.999, and that is equal to 342.128 grams per mole. I encourage you to always set it up on your paper first and then type it into your calculator because I need to know your setup. When you show your work, I need to see your setup. So always get it set up on your paper first and then type it into your calculator. All right. So I know that I have to start with my mole unit and I have to end up in grams. So I have to start with my 1.25 moles of Al2SO4 and I have to cancel out my moles and I have to end up with grams. And so this is my molar mass. 342 is attached to the G. And I need my value to stay 342.128. And so that's per 1 mole. And so I can multiply these together to get the moles to cancel out. And so that's 1.25. Sorry, I pulled out my calculator. So my previous answer times 1.25. And that's not what it was. I'll just retype that. 342.128 times 1.25. 427.66. And then we have to consider sig figs. That's 3 sig figs. This is more than 3 sig figs, so I will keep 3 sig figs. So that's 428. Got to round up. And then my final unit is grams. And so depending on your molar mass, you might end up with slightly different numbers, especially when you're rounding. Although this should have been rounded up to 428. I can see underneath here it said 427.67. I gotta fix that. I'll make a note to myself to fix that. All right. Here's a practice problem for you. Go ahead and figure out how many moles would be in 35.24 grams of sulfur hexafluoride. Pause the video and work that out in your notebook. Unpause the video when you're ready. Okay, let's do this. So you're starting with grams. So you're given 35.24 grams, and you're asked to find moles of SF6. So your change here is the unit. And so this is going to be, you're going to have to use molar mass as your conversion factor between those two units. So we need molar mass. And so that would be 1 sulfur at 32.06 grams per mole. And you need 6 fluorines, 18.998 grams per mole. And then you'll add those up together. So 32.06 times 1. You don't need to multiply by 1, it's just itself. Plus 6, 18.998. And so that's 146.048. So we have our 35.24 grams. And I need to cancel out my grams, so that has to be in the denominator to cancel out the existing grams. And I need to get into moles, so that my final unit will be moles. This number is attached to the grams. And so that's 146.048 grams per 1 mole. It's always a 1 next to the mole for this. And so I need to divide 35.24 divided by my previous answer. Let's see if this works. Might work. I'm still learning how to use this particular app. Looks about right. And then I need 4 sig figs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Round that to 0.2413 moles of SF6. Nope, not what I was trying to do. Well, it's going on. That concludes our video for today. In our next video, we will be converting between moles and particles.